Hello friends, followers and channel members, welcome to another video here in Microsoft Flight Simulator where Sim Update 10 is now available for download. Now, I seem to say this about every update that we get for Microsoft Flight Simulator, but Sim Update 10 really is the biggest update since the simulator's release. Given the amount of things that they have put into this from the devs, you can understand now why the update was pushed back and it kept getting delayed, and it has had a huge beta testing campaign. It was open beta, meaning that anybody who had the game like yourself could go ahead and download and test this new Sim Update 10, and finally, after months of testing, all of the latest features are live and made available as a mandatory update. The changelog for Sim Update 10 is completely immense, definitely the biggest one we've ever had. So, looking through all of this, you can be forgiven for thinking, my word, all of this information, what actually is really big and important from Sim Update 10? Well, that is exactly what we're going to cover here in this video. Not only that, there is also some really exciting news from the Phoenix team as well coming soon. But let's get back to Sim Update 10 and the important changes that have been made. So perhaps the biggest update in Sim Update 10 comes in the form of DLSS. Now, what is DLSS? DLSS stands for Deep Learning Super Sampling, and currently only available for those of us who have Nvidia graphics cards. Now, it all sounds very impressive, but what does it actually do? Well, before we go any further, let's take a look at the current FPS rate that I get in the simulator before Sim Update 10 landed. So, as normal, I do a nice bench test here over Manhattan in the Diamond DV20. Clear skies, nothing else added in, and you can see we're sitting quite happily around the 50 FPS mark. We can go and test that a little bit as well now just by going in and add some clouds. This usually always lowers your FPS as the cloud layers do indeed use more resources on your PC. So yeah, as to be expected, we've lost between 10 and 15 FPS, but that's nothing too damaging. You can see we're still happily panning around, and as I've always said, I'm quite happy with anything around the 30 FPS mark for a flight simulator. Now, before I updated, I went and just double checked what my graphics settings were. Here you can see my current graphics settings here in the sim. You can obviously go ahead and pause these if you want a closer look. I'm just going to quickly zip through so you've got a record of them. So I'm now going to go ahead, do the update, and then we'll come back and check what that's done. The update for me was done the same way as the last few, and that is upon launching Microsoft Flight Simulator, you get told that a mandatory update is available and you'll need to launch the App Store. Now, the App Store doesn't really seem to do anything for me. Let me know if it does for you, but the way I get the update is I have to go ahead and open the Xbox Store. Once we've got the Xbox Store open, then you can see the update and you can tell it to update. It'll download just a small file, and that's the initial file you'll need before you next run Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, remember, before doing this, Microsoft and Adobe do advise that you empty your community folder out. You can either do this just by literally cutting and pasting all of your mods in your community folder to somewhere different, or you can go in and just rename your community folder to something like Community 2 so that it creates a new blank community folder when you open it, not reading any of your mods. Make sure the update is done, and then you can pop the mods back in after it's launched for the first time. Once the small update file has downloaded, then you can go ahead, hit play, and that'll take you to the main download screen within the simulator. Remember, once that's gone and downloaded, there are a couple of housekeeping things we need to do. If you use rolling cache, make sure you go and delete your rolling cache so you don't have any old data stored on your PC, which will then perhaps conflict with the new data from Sim Update 10. Remember as well to go to your content manager and check for any packages that may need updating. Back in the simulator then at Manhattan, let's check out what the FPS is following the update, and as you can see, I've gained around 10 FPS. Now, bear in mind, of course, I've not changed any of my settings. They are as they were prior to Sim Update number 10, so this is a really good comparison already, showing that without any real changes, we've already got a little bit of a performance boost. In the graphics menu then, we now have a different option available to us for anti-aliasing. There you can see down at the bottom we have Nvidia Dlss, which uses AI super resolution to provide the highest possible frame rates when using a maximum graphics setting. There are also different options available for this. There's balanced, there's quality, performance, and ultra performance. But what does it all actually mean and what does it do? Well, the key thing here is the phrase maximum graphics settings. Now, of course, maximum graphics settings means different things to different people depending on your hardware configuration. The thing with DLSS is that when your graphics card starts becoming overstressed and struggling to keep up with decent level of frame rates because you've got your graphics settings turned really high, then the deep learning super sampling will kick in, and it's at this point that your graphics card will start to guess the pixels that it needs to render and show based on the information that it has. Now, of course, this does have a downside. This means that the images that you see on the screen may not always be as sharp and clear as you would like, and this is because it is filling in the gaps to try and maintain high levels of frame rate. This is great perhaps for lower end systems, and I would be very interested to know what you are setting these new graphics settings to in your sim to get the best possible details. Leave a comment down below letting us know what hardware you have and what settings you are using to try and utilize this new feature within Microsoft Flight Simulator. The new update has also brought more stability to those of you who like to use DirectX 12. Now, for me personally, I'm leaving all of my current graphics settings exactly as they were prior to the update. We've already seen that just by making the update, it's already improved its performance and I've gained some FPS. So for me, I'm quite happy to leave things where they were, and that also includes leaving it on DirectX 11. But if you are now utilizing DirectX 12, again, let us know down in the comments how you're finding it, and is it a lot more stable than it used to be. It's also worth pointing out at this point that the stability improvements for DirectX 12 only seem to reflect those of you using Nvidia cards at the moment. Now, let's look at another huge improvement to Sim Update 10, and that is with regards to the weather here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, we know that the weather in Microsoft Flight Sim really looks fantastic, and to all intents and purposes since its release, we've more or less been really rather happy with how it all has been working. But in this update, they've added interpolation out of metadata when getting away from the metadata stations in distance, altitude, or time. What this means is that no longer should you see such harsh transitions from one weather area to another. I must admit, I never really saw anything too bad. It was quite rare, but just on occasions, you'd see clouds suddenly popping in, or the opposite, popping out, and suddenly the sunshine would be blazing where it was a little bit grey prior to that. So hopefully that has now been solved as well. Again, let me know in the comments if you've noticed an improvement in that respect. Now, for those of you that follow the live streams here on the channel, we always use live weather, usually because we're flying on the VATSIM network. And finally, they have added Gusts to live weather, which means that using data from Meteo Blue and of course the Meta, the sim gets gust data in as you get in the real world, whereas before it didn't really tend to do it quite so much. This makes landing a lot more realistic and a little bit more challenging in some respects. In the future now, if you see gusts are reported in the Meta at the airport where you're arriving, then you can expect to feel those as well, and the timing of them is not quite as robotic as it was in the past, so you need to be on your guard for that gust coming in, just as you would have to be in the real world. Another note of improvement is that turbulence and drafts have also been reduced by 50% at high altitudes, and turbulence and drafts have also been altered as well. You can go ahead and check out the release notes for full details, but what this means is the next time you're flying over a part of the world where there are mountain ranges beneath you and you're at 30,000+ feet, then you're not going to feel it quite as choppy as it used to be prior to Sim Update number 10, so again, helping to add to the realism there. The weather panel has also been updated, and with this we've now got the ability to really go ahead and create weather in much more detail than we could before. We can see that the mean ground level winds are also available for us to go ahead and change, but this is something I really like. Look at the altitude now that you can select the cloud to. You can really go ahead and select a proper cloud base. So if I now just go and increase the coverage here, I've got the cloud base right down to the ground, where prior to this you could set it before but it didn't really work. Because they've now gone in and improved the cloud layering, it means that you can set this up really for a near zero visibility approach, as we can see here. Just at the last minute, the landing lights from the runway coming into view. So this is great for those of you wanting to practice those ILS landings. Something else that they have added is wakes to all of the moving sea traffic around in the simulator. Now, of course, not all sea traffic that you can see is moving, but for the sea traffic that is moving, there will of course be wakes that we can now go ahead and see, which from high altitude is really rather neat. Now, according to the release notes, Azobo have also added a new sample about using Terrain and Weather API and implemented the Terrain and Weather API for software developers. Now, not being a developer myself, I'm unsure just how much this is going to affect new add-on aircraft that come, but hopefully this means now that with access to this, weather radar in third-party aircraft such as the PMDG, the Phoenix, and of course the fly-by-wire and other commercially available add-ons for the simulator may soon be able to access the weather API, meaning that the weather radars in these airliners will soon work. Of course, this is a huge thing that we've all been waiting for, so we're really looking forward to seeing when that is available. As well as this, Azobo have also removed the encryption of the premium and deluxe aircraft found in the simulator. That's now been removed, so this actually means that the modders out there in the community can go ahead and tinker with things like the flight dynamics for these aircraft. For those of you who do develop your own scenery and use the software development kit, this is also an important note from the team because it's a potentially breaking change, and this is all to do with the localization. So make sure you do go ahead and read this so that hopefully your work is not affected. Another thing that I've tried with every sim update that they've brought out is the ability to pop out any of the screens here in the simulator without having a drastic drop in FPS, and for the first time it appears that this actually may now have been solved. Let me know what you guys think and how you get on in your own simulator when popping out a screen. Prior to sim update 10, whenever I popped out a screen, I used to suffer really badly with stutters and very low FPS. But it seems at the moment this seems to be working quite well. We've actually got quite a few clouds here as well rendering in the sim, so this is a really great thing that we can use on our live streams to showcase this off a little bit more. Finally then, before I leave you in this video, we must mention the fact that the update, the long awaited update for the Phoenix A320 is literally now hours away. Amir and the team announced earlier, just after the release of Sim Update 10, that the update for the Phoenix was very close. We're talking hours now, hopefully, and not days. The team are just finalizing the last few things, and then we'll be able to get our hands on it very soon. The changelog for the Phoenix update is absolutely huge, probably bigger than the Sim Update 10 changelog. We will, of course, go into all of the details when that is available here on the channel, so make sure you do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any future content and live streams. If you've enjoyed this video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have. Please don't forget to leave a like on your way out, and I look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all again in the next one. Bye bye for now.